Can you imagine a moment when two powerful figures from different worlds come together for a cause greater than themselves? That's exactly what happened in 2007, when former US President George W. Bush met with the Dalai Lama, and oh, what a powerful moment it was. This meeting, during which the Dalai Lama was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal, was not just a regular diplomatic encounter, it was a bold statement in the face of immense pressure, a stand for human rights, religious freedom, and the power of nonviolence. Let's dive in and explore why this event was so impactful. Subscribe for more content on human rights, global leaders, and peace. Historical context. Think about the context of that time. Tensions between China and Tibet were at an all-time high. The Dalai Lama, who had fled Tibet in 1959 after a failed uprising against Chinese rule, had become a symbol of hope, peace, and resilience for many. Can you imagine leading a government in exile for decades, tirelessly advocating for your people's rights? That's exactly what the Dalai Lama did from Dharamshala, India. He wasn't demanding independence from China but rather seeking genuine autonomy, a peaceful approach that earned him worldwide respect. Meanwhile, George W. Bush, in his second term, was navigating a complex relationship with China. He valued the economic partnership but also upheld the importance of human rights. What a balancing act. This meeting between Bush and the Dalai Lama, against the backdrop of China's growing influence, was a courageous move. It was as if Bush was saying, yes, we value our relationship with China, but our commitment to human rights stands tall. To understand the historical significance of this event, it is important to delve deeper into the journey of the Dalai Lama. The Tibetan spiritual leader's story began long before 1959, when he fled his homeland. Born as Lamo Thondup in 1935 in a small village in northeastern Tibet, he was recognized as the reincarnation of the 13th Dalai Lama at just 2 years old. Imagine being a toddler and being told you are the spiritual leader of an entire nation. By the age of 15, the Dalai Lama assumed full political power, just as China began its invasion of Tibet. The years that followed were filled with turmoil and conflict, ultimately leading to the 1959 uprising and the Dalai Lama's escape to India. His journey from a young boy thrust into leadership to an international symbol of peace is nothing short of extraordinary. For George W. Bush, the journey to this moment was also complex. He took office in 2001, just as the United States was about to enter one of its most challenging periods in recent history. The events of September 11, 2001, reshaped American foreign policy, with a focus on combating terrorism and promoting democracy worldwide. Bush's emphasis on freedom and human rights became a cornerstone of his presidency, even as he faced criticism for some of his administration's policies. By 2007, Bush was in his second term, and his decision to meet with the Dalai Lama was a reflection of his commitment to these values, despite the potential diplomatic fallout with China. Awarding the Congressional Gold Medal. Can you picture the scene on October 17, 2007? The U.S. Capitol was buzzing with dignitaries, lawmakers, and human rights advocates. President Bush, alongside House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, stood before the world to honor the Dalai Lama with the Congressional Gold Medal, one of the highest civilian honors in the United States. The Dalai Lama's name now sits alongside historical giants like Nelson Mandela, Winston Churchill, and Mother Teresa. Isn't that incredible? The Congressional Gold Medal is not just any award, it is a symbol of profound respect and recognition. It has been awarded to individuals who have made significant contributions to American history and culture. Imagine the significance of a Buddhist monk, who had spent his life advocating for peace and compassion, being honored in such a way. It was a moment that transcended politics and borders, a recognition of the universal values that the Dalai Lama embodied. President Bush praised the Dalai Lama for his dedication to compassion, tolerance, and human dignity. Imagine the strength it took for Bush to publicly support a figure considered a separatist by China. It wasn't just a medal ceremony, it was a message to oppressed communities worldwide, a message that they were not forgotten. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, a longtime advocate for Tibetan rights, also spoke passionately during the ceremony. She emphasized that the award was not just for the Dalai Lama but for all the people of Tibet, who had suffered under Chinese rule. Her words echoed through the capital, reminding everyone of the importance of standing up for those who cannot stand up for themselves. The ceremony was filled with emotion. Imagine the Dalai Lama, standing there in his maroon and yellow robes, a symbol of resilience and hope. He spoke of his gratitude to the American people and leaders. His voice calm yet powerful. He reiterated his commitment to nonviolence and compassion, and his hope for a peaceful resolution to the Tibetan issue. The audience, which included lawmakers from both parties, human rights activists, and international diplomats, listened intently. It was a rare moment of unity, where political differences were set aside in favor of a greater cause. China's reaction. Now, you probably guessed it, China wasn't happy. Their reaction was swift and fierce. They condemned the meeting, calling it a blatant interference in their domestic affairs. Imagine the U.S. ambassador in Beijing being summoned for a formal protest, with China warning of potential economic retaliation. You could almost feel the tension. For China, the Dalai Lama represented a challenge to their authority, not just over Tibet, but over their image on the global stage. The world was watching, and China couldn't afford to look weak. The Chinese government has always viewed Tibet as an integral part of its territory, and the Dalai Lama as a separatist intent on splitting Tibet from China. From Beijing's perspective, any recognition of the Dalai Lama in an official capacity by a foreign government was a direct challenge to China's sovereignty. The awarding of the Congressional Gold Medal was seen as an affront, a move that threatened to undermine China's control over Tibet and embolden separatist sentiments. China's response was not limited to diplomatic protests. There were also veiled threats of economic repercussions. At the time, China was rapidly becoming one of the United States' largest trading partners, and the economic relationship between the two countries was crucial. The Chinese government warned that the event could negatively impact U.S.-China relations, hinting at possible consequences for American businesses operating in China. This was a clear attempt to leverage economic power to silence criticism and prevent other countries from following the U.S.'s lead, but despite the threats, the United States did not back down. The ceremony went ahead as planned, and the Dalai Lama received his medal. This was a significant moment in international relations, a demonstration that moral values and human rights could not be compromised for economic interests. It was a reminder that, while economic partnerships are important, they should not come at the expense of fundamental human rights. International implications. What did this all mean for the world? Well, the awarding of the Congressional Gold Medal wasn't just a symbolic act, it was a powerful international message. It said, loud and clear, that human rights matter, even if it means standing up to an economic superpower like China. It made other countries take notice, too. Would they follow the US's lead in speaking out against China's human rights abuses? The international community watched closely as the events unfolded. The US's decision to honor the Dalai Lama sent ripples across the globe. For many Western democracies, it was a reminder of the importance of standing up for human rights, even in the face of potential backlash. Countries like Germany and France, which had previously hosted the Dalai Lama despite Beijing's objections, felt vindicated by the US's actions. It was a show of solidarity among democratic nations, a statement that they would not be intimidated by China's economic clout. For the Tibetan independence movement, the ceremony was like a spark reigniting hope. The Dalai Lama's message of nonviolence was given a global stage, reminding everyone of the struggle in Tibet, a struggle that had been fading from public discourse. The attention brought by the Congressional Gold Medal helped to revive international interest in the Tibetan cause. Human rights organizations around the world used the occasion to highlight the ongoing abuses in Tibet, including the suppression of religious freedom, the destruction of Tibetan culture, and the forced assimilation of the Tibetan people. The event also had implications for China's image on the world stage. Beijing's heavy-handed response to the ceremony, including its threats of economic retaliation, was seen by many as an overreaction. It highlighted the Chinese government's sensitivity to any criticism of its policies in Tibet and reinforced the perception of China as an authoritarian state unwilling to tolerate dissent. This, in turn, led to increased scrutiny of China's human rights record, not just in Tibet but across the country. Impact on U.S.-China relations. So, what did this mean for U.S.-China relations? Well, let's be honest, it wasn't great for diplomacy. But it was fascinating to see how both sides handled it. The economic ties between the two countries were too important to sever, so despite all the threats and protests, both showed restraint. President Bush attending the ceremony was bold, and yet, he still managed to maintain a working relationship with China. Isn't that a delicate dance, standing up for values while not completely burning bridges? The U.S.-China relationship has always been a complex one, characterized by both cooperation and competition. On the one hand, the two countries are deeply economically intertwined, with China being a major trading partner and holder of U.S. debt. On the other hand, there are significant points of tension, including human rights, trade imbalances, and geopolitical issues. The decision by President Bush to attend the ceremony was seen as a calculated risk, an attempt to uphold American values without causing an irreparable rift in the relationship with China. Following the ceremony, there was a period of diplomatic tension. The Chinese government lodged formal protests, and there were concerns about potential economic repercussions. However, both sides showed a willingness to move past the incident. The economic and geopolitical interests between the two superpowers were simply too critical for either side to allow a significant breakdown in relations. While the U.S. continued to speak out on human rights issues, it also sought to maintain a working relationship with China, particularly in areas of mutual interest such as trade and addressing global challenges like climate change. This delicate balancing act was a testament to the complexity of international diplomacy. It showed that it is possible to stand up for human rights and moral values while also engaging in pragmatic diplomacy. The U.S.'s approach to China following the ceremony was one of careful navigation, acknowledging the importance of the economic relationship while making it clear that certain values were non-negotiable. Impact on the human rights movement. For the global human rights movement, this event was a beacon of hope. It showed that nonviolent advocacy could be recognized and celebrated at the highest levels. Imagine being an activist, watching the Dalai Lama, a symbol of peace, receiving such a prestigious honor. Wouldn't you feel validated and inspired to keep pushing forward, no matter the challenges? The ceremony also reminded leaders around the world that they have a responsibility to champion human rights, regardless of political or economic pressures. It encouraged other political figures to take a stand, even if it meant facing backlash. The Dalai Lama's recognition was a powerful reminder that the fight for human rights is a global one, and that moral leadership can come from unexpected places. The impact on the human rights movement was profound. The Dalai Lama's acceptance of the Congressional Gold Medal was not just about Tibet, it was about the broader struggle for freedom, dignity, and justice. It inspired activists fighting for various causes, from religious freedom to political rights, to continue their efforts. The Dalai Lama's message of compassion and nonviolence resonated deeply, emphasizing that even in the face of oppression, there is power in peaceful resistance. The event also highlighted the role of international solidarity in the fight for human rights. The support shown by the United States, and by extension the international community, was a reminder that those who are oppressed are not alone. It sent a message to authoritarian regimes around the world that their actions are being watched, and that there are consequences for violating human rights. This kind of international attention and support is crucial for marginalized communities, as it provides them with a platform to amplify their voices and bring their struggles to light. A legacy of peace and compassion. During his acceptance speech, the Dalai Lama spoke of universal values: compassion, love, understanding. His words weren't just for the Tibetan people but for all of us. Can you imagine being there, hearing him speak about the need for dialogue and peace? It was a reminder that even in the face of oppression, nonviolence is the path forward. The Dalai Lama's speech was a powerful call to action. He spoke of the importance of compassion in resolving conflicts, of the need for dialogue rather than confrontation. His words were a reminder that true strength lies not in power or force, but in the ability to understand and empathize with others. For those in the audience, and for the millions watching around the world, it was a moment of reflection, a reminder of the values that bind us together as human beings. The image of the Dalai Lama standing with President Bush at the Capitol was powerful. It was more than just a photo op, it was a convergence of moral authority and political power. A testament that values like compassion and human dignity could bring people together across boundaries and political systems. It showed that, despite the differences in their roles and backgrounds, both men shared a commitment to fundamental human values. The legacy of the 2007 meeting between George W. Bush and the Dalai Lama endures to this day. It is a testament to the power of peaceful advocacy and the importance of moral leadership in international relations. It serves as a reminder that, even in a world often driven by political and economic interests, there is still room for compassion, dignity, and the pursuit of justice. Conclusion: the 2007 meeting between George W. Bush and the Dalai Lama, culminating in the presentation of the Congressional Gold Medal, was a landmark event in both U.S. foreign policy and the international struggle for human rights. It showcased the United States' willingness to stand up for fundamental freedoms and religious rights, even in the face of diplomatic and economic pressure from China. The event highlighted the Dalai Lama's contributions to peace, compassion, and the quest for justice, reinforcing his status as a global symbol of nonviolence. For the Tibetan people, it was a moment of hope and international recognition of their struggle. For China, it was a reminder that its internal policies would not be shielded from global scrutiny. For the world, it was a call to action, urging leaders and citizens alike to support the values of compassion, human dignity, and freedom. The legacy of that meeting endures as a testament to the power of peaceful advocacy and the enduring importance of moral leadership in international relations. And for the rest of us? It was a reminder that, no matter how powerful the opposition, the values of compassion, dignity, and freedom are worth standing up for. It's a call to action, a call for each of us to support those fighting for justice, to never forget the power of peaceful advocacy, and to recognize that true leadership lies in moral courage. It challenges us to ask ourselves, what can we do in our own lives to promote these values? How can we contribute to a world where compassion and understanding triumph over conflict and division? The story of the Dalai Lama and George W. Bush is not just a story of two leaders, it is a story of the potential within each of us to make a difference, to stand up for what is right, and to be a force for good in the world.